Hi, I'm Gyro, and welcome to my library. The Last Stand, a beautiful fantasy that all men persevere for, to die against overwhelming odds to an enemy. It's a tale as old as time. Well, actually not. At least, in Western society, the first Last Stand is the Battle of Thermopylae. Funny how that's about Spartans and we're talking about Halo. Now, you might be thinking, I'm gonna talk about Noble Six's heroic Last Stand of Rage. Wrong! We're talking about Ghost of Onyx, boy. Specifically Kurt's Last Stand, because, boy, let me tell you, it's spicy. Before we talk about Kurt's Last Stand, let me tell you about what led to Kurt's ultimate demise. Yep, spoilers for a 20-year-old book. Fuck, I am old. Anyway, ignoring the pain, let's talk about Kurt. One of the things that I love about Halo, specifically the Spartan 2s, is they all have a thing. Linda is the sharpshooter, Kelly is fast as fuck, Chief is lucky, Fred is unlucky. Yes, I know his thing is CQB, but I literally made a video talking about how he's so much more than that. He means so much to me, god damn it! Oh, and Kurt's thing is Spidey sense. Well, not actually Spidey sense, but something similar. Kurt has a crazy sixth sense for bad situations. Bro knows how to read a room like a pro. There's a moment in the book where he and Blue Team are infiltrating an insurrectionist compound, and dude knew it was a trap and effectively saved the rest of Blue Team because he just got that Spidey sense. Listen, real talk. As much as I love Fred, he is my GOAT. Game recognizes game, and Kurt knows ball. Dude is an absolute unit. He's one of the tallest Spartan 2s, if I remember correctly, right behind Sam and George. Dude also is hella charismatic, and I mean, look at this official art. The guy is gorgeous. Sorry, Fred. Kurt's my new thing now. I'm just joking. I'll never leave you, baby. Sometimes I wonder, Gyro, why are you single? Well, me, it's because I simp over fictional men on the internet for views. What were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Kurt's just a cool guy. It may feel like I'm just rambling about how cool this guy Kurt is, but in order to understand Kurt's Last Stand, you have to understand his ideology. Kurt is a protector. He is, in all cases of the word, a protector. As most people know, Kurt assisted with the Spartan 3 program, and with each iteration of the different companies within the program, he did more and more to keep them safe. After Alpha Company died, yes, they fucking died, no survivors. I mean, there's a couple of surviving Alpha Company Spartans, but I'm talking about those that participated specifically in Operation Prometheus. Pretty cool name, but too bad everyone is fucking dead. Maybe if I mention people died again, I'll get a cookie. Anyway, Kurt tried his best to help Beta Company work more cohesively together. He tried to protect them, and they all died, except for Tom and Lucy, because they're awesome and cute, and I want to see more of them in the future. Kurt even went so far in his way of protecting his Spartans that when it came time for Gamma Company to get their augmentations, he gave them illegal drugs that make them more aggressive in battle. Dude was so fed up after the first two companies being party wiped, he was like, that's it, hardcore drugs is the only option. And you know what? I respect the hustle. Anyway, my main point is that in order for Kurt to even consider the Last Stand, we need to understand the lengths this man would go to protect the ones he loved. It's amazing. It's also why I like Kurt's Last Stand over Noble Six's. We get Six had to stay behind. He had to do what was necessary for the mission. Kurt, though, he did that because he needed to. He faced down all those Covenant soldiers because he wouldn't allow another Spartan to die under his command. To me, I find it so much more compelling that Kurt didn't have to die in the Last Stand, and he didn't need to stay behind, but he knew if he didn't, his team wouldn't be completely safe. It makes his death so much more impactful for me in that regard. Which, speaking of his death, finally, we talk about the point of the video. Thanks for sticking around. I'll make sure you get a cookie at the end. This entire chapter is one of my favorite moments in Halo, period. It's perfect. Perfect. Down to the minute detail. The battle, the descriptions, side tangent. I gotta give my boy Will043 some aura points because bro gets shot in the face by a hunter, takes a step forward, and then dies standing up. Like, what the fuck, Eric Nyland? Thanks for giving Will one final aura moment before his death. Like, what? That's I love the way Eric Nylund writes some of the Spartans because they just do like crazy shit and it's just like, oh, that's peak. It's just peak. Also, rip to my girl Holly, who literally died by the same hunter and was absolutely vaporized. So, people are trying to get into the portal, and then the Covenant is like, no way, battle, 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 Kurt's injured, and he's like, get out of here, you gotta get to the portal, and Tama's like, no, you can't sacrifice herself, and Kurt's like, oh yeah, watch me, and then he punches Tom in the face. I hope you all appreciate my totally accurate recreation of Ghost of Onyx. Fuck you. Anyway, here's a proper recreation for it. A sharp bark behind the hunters made them halt in their tracks. An elite in golden armor strode toward them, gracing Kurt with a glance that was part disdain and part respect. It jabbered orders at the hunters and the others. Kurt's translation software deciphered part of this.
Damage not the center. Engineers with the subspace field shunts. Reopen the Silver Gate. Glory is ours!
A roar of thunderous triumph burst from the gathered Covenant. Kurt struggled to rise. There was more pain than he'd ever felt, and his legs had turned to wet sand. His vision tunneled, but he got to his feet and raised both hands into a fighting stance.
You haven't won. You've still got me to get through.
The Shipmaster assessed Kurt and nodded, perhaps understanding him, perhaps not. He gazed upon Kurt as an equal, a fellow warrior. Around them, the concentric rings settled to the floor, and with a whispered hiss, all the ridges melted into a single smooth surface. The fins touched down silently. 13 clamping armatures splayed 2 meters from the center of the room. His countdown timer blinked at him. 0, 0, 0. He exhaled. The rift was closed. Kurt opened his team roster subheading status and moved Will, Spartan 043, Dante, Spartan G188, and Holly, Spartan G003 to the missing in action column, adhering to the tradition of never listing a fallen Spartan as killed in action. Kurt then highlighted Lieutenant Commander Kurt Ambrose and moved that name to the MIA list as well, next to Kurt, Spartan 051. The room started to spin. His mouth went dry. He tried to swallow, couldn't. His vision doubled, and he thought he saw Tom and Lucy come back to get him. But it wasn't them. It was Shane, Robert, and Jane from Team Wolfpack. There were hundreds of Spartans with him on the platform, from Alpha and Beta companies, Dante, Holly, Will, and even Sam, all ready to fight and win this last battle with him. Hallucination? Maybe. It was nonetheless welcome. The ghostly Spartans nodded and gave him the thumbs-up can-do signal. Kurt wouldn't let them down. All he had to do was single-handedly stop a Covenant army. One last impossible mission. The short definition of any Spartan. It was the least he owed them. The Fleetmaster elite snarled at Kurt, and the translation filtered through his helmet speaker.
One last fight, demon. You will die, and we shall reopen the Silver Path.
Die. Didn't you know? Spartans never die.
Kurt turned his gauntlet face up and pressed the detonator. He's just so fucking cool, man. It's such a beautiful moment. The other Spartans showing up, his badass final words, just everything leading him to this moment. It's just so great. I also love Nylund's little choice to remind people about the MIA and KIA rule, then paying it off later with Kurt's final words. It's just beautiful. The addition of the other Spartans also is a nice touch, given so many different ways you can view it. One interpretation I started thinking thinking about while writing this is that given the Spartans never die phrase, this is how they live on. I'm not saying the Spartans are like spiritual beings that come back from the dead, but I'm not opposed to that type of interpretation. I mean, the Covenant believed early on in the war Spartans were dead soldiers who kept coming back from the dead, so it's kind of fun addition that I think adds a little bit of flavor, but is obviously headcanon stuff. My overall interpretation of the scene is that the theme of Spartans never die is more so the fact they don't die because we won't let them die. There's a famous quote by Ernest Hemingway, and I know he's not the founder of this quote, it's a concept that predates him, but he says, "Every man has two deaths, when he is buried in the ground and the last time someone says his name." And I like to think this emulates with the Spartans never die phrase very well. Spartans are a beacon of hope, but even if they fall, humanity carries on their name. They remember. It's the whole premise of Reach, and it's the whole premise of this book, and honestly, Halo itself. Hope and remembering and listening and following the people that have died before you, that is like the whole premise of Halo. And I just love how that is emulated here in this chapter with Kurt's final stand. It's why Kurt sees all of the Spartans who have fallen, he remembers them, he holds on to them close, and he will fight for their memory, even if it means joining them in the end. Ghost of Onyx is by far one of, if not the best Halo books in the series, and honestly, if you haven't read it, sorry for spoiling it, but just go and read it. It's such a good book, and if you listen to the audiobook version of it, you can hear some Halo music towards the end of the book. Alright, bye!